The night I walked into the wrong ICU room, I was carrying a song I no longer believed in, a heart weighed down by exhaustion, and a life that felt stuck between regret and fear. I had no idea that within minutes, a silent stranger lying in a coma would become the turning point of my entire existence. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet miracles that happen when we least expect them, take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel, because this story is about how one small mistake transformed two broken lives forever. My name is Rachel Morgan, and at that time, I was a struggling nursing student working night shifts as a hospital aide in Chicago, Illinois. Life had not been gentle with me. My mother had passed away 2 years earlier after a long battle with cancer, leaving behind a hollow silence that echoed through every room of our small apartment. My father disappeared when I was young, and since then, responsibility had wrapped itself tightly around my shoulders. I worked double shifts, studied until dawn, and sang softly to myself in empty hallways just to keep from breaking. Singing had once been my dream, but dreams don't pay bills, and reality doesn't wait for grief to heal. That night, the hospital was unusually quiet. The corridors glowed dimly under pale fluorescent lights, and the air smelled of disinfectant and stale coffee. I had been asked to deliver updated charts to the ICU wing, and fatigue blurred my focus. My mind was far away, tangled in thoughts of overdue rent, failed exams, and the heavy loneliness that followed me everywhere. Without realizing it, I turned down the wrong hallway and entered a room that wasn't on my list. Inside, a man lay motionless, connected to machines that whispered and beeped in steady rhythm. His name, according to the chart by the bed, was Christopher Hale. 42 years old. Severe brain trauma from a highway accident. No family listed. No visitors recorded. There was something unsettling about the stillness of the room. It felt abandoned, forgotten, as though time had stopped there. The dim light revealed his pale skin, unshaven jaw, and faint lines of exhaustion etched deep into his face. He looked like someone who had carried heavy burdens long before the accident. I stood frozen for a moment, unsure whether to leave, but something pulled me closer. Maybe it was the loneliness I recognized in him, or maybe it was the silence that felt too loud. Without thinking, I set the charts aside and sat beside him. I began to hum softly, barely aware I was doing it. It was an old hymn my mother used to sing when the nights felt too heavy, a melody that once soothed my childhood fears. The sound filled the room gently, wrapping around the quiet like a fragile blanket. I sang because I needed to breathe, because I needed to remember who I was before life hardened me, and because in that stillness, it felt like someone needed to be reminded that they were not alone. Days turned into weeks, and I found myself returning to Christopher's room whenever my shifts allowed. I told myself it was just coincidence, just habit, but deep down I knew it was more than that. I sang different songs, shared fragments of my life, whispered encouragements into the silence. I spoke of my mother, my struggles, my hopes. Though he never moved, I felt a strange comfort there, as if he was listening, as if the connection was real. The nurses mentioned he had no known relatives, no one who visited, and the thought of him lying alone day after day broke something inside me. Then, one early morning, everything changed. As I sat by his bedside singing a soft gospel tune, I noticed a faint twitch in his fingers. At first, I thought exhaustion was playing tricks on me, but then his hand moved again, slow and uncertain. My breath caught in my throat, and my heart began to race. Moments later, his eyelids fluttered, and his breathing shifted. I rushed to call the medical staff, barely able to contain my shock. By the time they arrived, Christopher's eyes were open, unfocused but alive. Recovery was not immediate. He remained confused and weak, but the doctors were amazed by his sudden responsiveness after months of stagnation. Tests showed improved brain activity, and they cautiously spoke of hope. Over the next several weeks, his condition steadily improved. When he was finally able to speak, his voice was hoarse, fragile, yet filled with gratitude. He remembered fragments of my singing, describing it as a distant light pulling him back through darkness. Those words stayed with me, echoing in my mind long after each shift ended. As Christopher regained strength, pieces of his story emerged. He had once been a construction project manager in Denver, Colorado, dedicated to rebuilding communities after natural disasters. He had no close family, only distant relatives who had long lost contact. His life before the accident had been full of motion, purpose, and service. When he spoke of those days, there was a quiet sadness in his eyes, a longing to return to something meaningful. Listening to him, I began to see my own life differently. His resilience awakened something dormant within me, a reminder that broken seasons do not define entire lives. Our bond grew naturally, rooted in shared pain and quiet hope. We spoke of dreams we had abandoned and fears we never admitted. I confessed how I had given up on singing, how the weight of survival had crushed my passion. He encouraged me, gently but firmly, to remember that gifts are meant to be shared, not buried. Those conversations slowly reshaped my heart. For the first time in years, I allowed myself to imagine a future that wasn't just about survival. Months later, Christopher was discharged from the hospital. On his final day, he left me a simple note, thanking me for giving him a reason to wake up. That note became my anchor during the difficult weeks that followed. I continued my studies with renewed determination, took vocal lessons in the evenings, and began performing at small community events. Each step forward felt terrifying, yet exhilarating. The fear of failure no longer controlled me, instead, gratitude guided me. 1 year later, I stood on a modest stage at a charity event in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, organized to support patients without family care. Christopher sat in the front row, fully recovered, his eyes bright with pride. As I sang, the room fell silent, and for a moment, I felt my mother's presence, as though she were standing beside me, whispering encouragement. The applause that followed was overwhelming, but what mattered most was the peace settling in my chest. I had finally reclaimed a part of myself I thought was lost forever. Our friendship remained a steady source of strength. Christopher returned to his humanitarian work, dedicating his time to rebuilding homes and offering hope to disaster-stricken communities. I completed my nursing degree and began working full-time while pursuing music. Together, we organized hospital visits, bringing music and comfort to patients who felt forgotten. Each song became a prayer, each smile a reminder that compassion holds unimaginable power. Just before the ending, I want to ask for something special. If this story has touched you, please leave a comment sharing what kindness or second chances mean to you, because your words might inspire someone who desperately needs hope today. Looking back, it still amazes me how a single wrong turn in a hospital hallway altered the course of 2 lives. What began as a mistake became a miracle, a testament to the unseen ways love and faith operate beyond our understanding. If this story stirred something within your heart, if it reminded you of the beauty hidden in everyday moments, please take a second to like, share, and subscribe. Your engagement helps spread these stories of hope, reaching those who may feel alone, forgotten, or lost. Because sometimes, all it takes to wake a soul is a gentle song, a moment of compassion, and the courage to believe that even in the darkest rooms, light is waiting to be discovered.